Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today, as we do with all new set releases, we'll be talking about the most slept on cards coming out of Dawn of the Z Legends. These are cards that I think are kind of not getting as much hype as they probably deserve, or cards that I just want to point out cool combos that you guys may not have been thinking about. So with that being said, we'll get right into this though. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there are many ways to do so as always. But today, if you want to buy or pre-order any of the cards we talk about in today's video, or any trading cards for that matter, feel free to use my link in the description to TCG Player. Really does help out a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And if you guys need any sealed product, make sure to check out Mystic TCG down in the description, our team sponsor. Anyways, let's jump right on into these cards. Firstly, I gotta talk about Borgo's Feelings Bequeath because I forgot to talk about it in the cards you should pick up video. My bad, guys. This card is 110% a pickup if you guys are a yellow player, because it's just such a simple but strong and cool effect. So it's a counterplay, and when you play it, you can tap something 7 or less. And this is something we've been missing at the kind of auto speed, if you want to call it that, because it gets around a lot of things with deflect, which is really nice. It's kind of like the counterpart to Mutaito, where Mutaito also costs 1, is also an auto counterplay, and it taps things that are greater than your opponent's energy pool, and it ignores barrier. Unfortunately, this does not ignore barrier, but where Mutaito hits the boss monsters of the world, Borgos is going to hit those lower cost cheated threats of the world. Like in the new Sin deck, for example, you can hit their Dread Destroyer. In the SS4 Gogeta matchup, you can hit all of their smaller 4-cost battle cards. So this can be a very valuable defensive card. And in the Z Bardock deck, you draw a card and you play defensively on your Awakened side. So that's a really good draw to that deck. I think this card's 110% a pickup, and just wanted to kind of bring some attention to it. Alright, next up we have Pan Inherited Bloodline. So if you guys watched my tier list video from a few days ago, you would know that I'm not too big on Piccolo Superhero as being a highly competitive deck, but this is a really cool card because it is technically generic to any yellow deck with the auto. If your leader is yellow and your opponent has 2 or more energy, when you place this card from your Z energy in your drop area to pay the Z energy cost of a mono yellow Z battle card with energy cost of 2 or more, play this card from your drop, then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode ignoring barrier, and KO it. So that's a mouthful, but basically it just says if you are to play Gohan facing new foes in your Z deck and you are to play it to the board, if you use this as your Z energy cost, you can play it and then KO something ignoring barrier. So it is really nice, once again, that any yellow deck that decides to play facing new foes in the Z deck can have access to this and pop a battle card and rest mode ignoring barrier, because that is a problem for a lot of yellow decks. Look at the new yellow decks that came out. They don't have inherent barrier removal as part of their archetypes, again, except for Piccolo Superhero, which isn't as strong. But Z Bardock and the new Great Ape Goku deck from the structure deck are able to play this if they wanted to tech it. Probably a little bit harder to play in Bardock because Bardock has to play so many crew cards, but I think this is perfectly playable in the new Goku Ape deck. And the cool thing there is the leader on the Awakened side lets you combo a yellow Earthling from your drop area. This is a yellow Earthling, so you can combo it from your drop, you can put it into your Z energy, then you can kind of set up this play. When you compare it to Trunks Vegeta, it's a little bit rough that Trunks Vegeta has barrier removal for technically 1, although it's tied to having to attack, which you could actually interrupt in that matchup if you if you played the mirror, or if you played a lot of that matchup. You can stop that in some ways. This is pretty much always going to resolve because of the deflect. So again, even though it's a bit more costly, a minimum of 3 energy, it's still pretty cool that you can splash it, in my opinion. And it sets up more Z energy with the auto being a dual attacker that combos 5Ks from your drop. So I'm a big fan. Then you have Gohan Flash of Brilliance. So much like the pan we just talked about, none of this card's effects for the most part are tied to playing the Piccolo Gohan superhero leader. None of them are tied to it, actually. So as long as you play facing new foes, this evolves for 1, and as long as you have 4 or more energy and a yellow pan in play, which is a pan we just looked at, this will gain double strike and barrier on turn 4 and beyond. And then if you have yellow unison in play, you can KO 2 things and negate their skills when this card attacks. So what I will say about yellow unisons is that yellow hasn't always played unisons. Like, they've played powerhouses like 3-drop Trunks unison or SS2 Gohan Z Fighter. Many decks have just splashed them because they're that powerful to just cast. But there are new yellow decks that are coming out that kind of have these unisons that are part of their engine. All the new yellow decks coming out in Z series have unisons that are part of their engines. So meeting this card's requirement, again, if you are to splash this engine in these new decks, is going to be a lot easier, and that'll probably be the case going forward, right? So again, I do think it's very cool. These are very generic engines that you don't have to play with the Piccolo superhero leader if you don't want to. Definitely wanted to point some attention to that. Then we have Hurugard, a Cursed Destroyer. So what I will say about this card is that it probably had a lot of hype surrounding it when it was initially revealed. One, because it was created by our world champion Andrew Duvall, and two, like, I definitely brought a lot of hype to this card because I think it is very, very good. But I will say it's been very hard to build a deck with this card. I mean, you've got a few options. You've got the obvious Hurugard stuff because this is a Hurugard card. It's meant to play Hurugards from your hand, that kind of good stuff. I think there's even some playability in Budokai Goku if you were to really dedicate a build to this card, because you have the North Kai 1-drop that after it served its purpose, it kind of just sits there and doesn't really do anything. So you can sacrifice it for this guy and Rampant Energy. That's a pretty cool play line. I think some blue decks struggle with comboing 2 cards to actually make use of the Activate Battle here. And if you wanted to kind of clean that up, you could play 17-18 Unison teaming up from the Gamma deck. That would be another one that would just kind of help you combo a bit more to get that going. And I think those are some cool strategies to kind of include this card in, but I don't think any of those are gonna necessarily be tier 1, at least at the beginning of Dawn of the Z Legends format. But I do 110% think this is a card that you want to have in your back pocket. You want to pick it up early while it's cheap, because there will be a time where this card will become very strong. It's a card that ramps you, that has deflect. It's an 8-drop. It plays Hurugard if Hurugard gets more support in the future, which I'm sure it will. So yeah, just wanted to basically not let you guys forget about this card. Android 18, Measureless Strength. I think this super rare got a little bit overshadowed by Hurugard on reveal, but this card's been absolutely insane. I've been playing a little bit of Gamma lately, and besides the fact that it's a check land and the Arrival being like somewhat playable, it doesn't come up all the time, but it's playable. The Activate main, just pitching it and searching the top 5 is so good. Besides the fact that you can just search super combos, that's always going to be really strong. Searching for the Android 18 Heroine counterplay in Gamma has been absolutely ridiculous, because going into the previous format, if you're playing U7 for example, or even Yellow Trunks and you're going up against Gamma, they would have that 1 energy open maybe, and you really hope, like, wow, I really hope they don't have their Heroine Android 18 counterplay, and now this card makes that card searchable. So just been a really strong card in Gamma. Definitely want to pick it up, especially if you're playing Android 16 as well. Searching your different arrivals, searching your super combos, really strong. Supreme Kai of Time, final battle at hand. I talked about this in the card you should pick up video. I think this is just a really cool card. It's just a 1-drop that draws a card and has a pretty easy condition to gain barrier. I think there's going to be a time where this card is super solid. Might not be this format, might not be next format, but I think it's a really cool just direction of design they're taking. Because I was actually talking about this in a Facebook post recently, that I kind of hope we steer a bit away from Floodgates and more just towards these high value defensive, like 1 for 2 attack stoppers, or in the case of Kai, it'll typically only stop 1 attack, but at least it draws a card as a blocker, which I do think is a really neat thing for game direction. Next up, I want to talk about some Pan cards, because man, oh man, these cards are just absolutely insane. It still kind of boggles my brain about the fact that I couldn't justify putting Pan above a deck like SS4 Gogeta or Sin Shenron, because they literally just came out and said, okay, Pan, you get a 1-drop 15k, and when that thing gets boosted to 20, not only do you draw a card off your leader, you also get a top 5 search. Like, that is just insane. And they also got a combo into play, which is a classic thing throughout Dragon Ball Super. Typically they cost you 1 energy to combo, and they come in for 15k in rest mode. But if your leader's Pan, nah, don't worry about that. Just combo it, play it in active mode, goes to 20, draws a card. Like, these are some really insane cards, and it's very obvious they wanted Pan Reboot to be good, but then they went ahead and printed SS4 Gogeta and Red Sin in the same set. So this is definitely a little bit of an overshadowed archetype, but I do think anyone that wants to play Pan is going to be in for a pretty decent time. At the very least at a local level, maybe at a regional level if you kind of run into the right matchups. But yeah, I mean, I'm just completely boggled at the fact that these cards are just as high value as they are, honestly. Then we have Bardock, Origin of the Legend, the infamous God Rare of set 18. I want to talk about this SCR because it's a yellow SCR in an age where we have Piccolo Gohan, and it's going to be a really tough sell to ever convince a competitive player that something like this is going to be better than Piccolo Gohan. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think there will ever be a universe where that's the case. I mean, at the bare minimum, this thing costs 3 energy. Piccolo Gohan is free, and that's not even to talk about the other ups and downs of each card. This card does have its upsides that I do appreciate. It's got a floodgate type of effect. It KOs 2 things ignoring barrier, so it does definitely have solid things going for it, but I really think this is going to be playable in non-yellow sand decks. So let's just kind of run through the list. Red, unfortunately, probably won't play this card because you've got SSB Vegeta. You've also got the new SS4 Vegito coming out in Dawn of the Z Legends. Blue, you're always playing Baby Hachiyak unless you're a ramp deck, then maybe you're playing the new Kaioken Goku. But in green and black sand leaders, I could definitely see worlds where you want to play this card, because again, it gives you access to that floodgate, gives you access to barrier removal, and it's not specifically tied to yellow in any way. You just pay 3 colors for it. So again, black, green sand leaders I think can find usage for this card, but unfortunately not the colors you may expect to play it. Will I don't think they'll be adopting it anytime soon. And then we'll wrap this video up talking about Piccolo, Guardian of Earth. Just as such an insane unison with such simple text, which is honestly so refreshing to see, because all the insane cards we see nowadays have a paragraph of text on them. This thing just draws a card, just gains dual attack, just gains some power if you KO something. But this is definitely a super rare that's very deserving of that super rare slot, because it is just very, very good. I mean, it's happening slowly but surely, guys. Green is just getting all these different cards that are making it better and better and better. Maybe one day we'll have a good generic green stuff deck to really showcase to you guys, but that day might not be at the beginning of Dawn of Z Legends. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. If I pointed something cool out to you, let me know in the comments below. Hope it helped. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.